Hello there, Christine. Now tell us, what's this connection between the Hollywood mega hit and American policy overseas?
Well, first of all, Matt, there are quite a few parallels that people are drawing. Let's not forget, this is a movie that has dominated at the box office, and just about anyone who sees it can see some connections between quite a few things, not only in American history, but in the histories of several countries around the world. Now, here's one example. The Native Americans and those who came overseas to this country and essentially, some would argue, took over the land. Now, let me just give you a brief synopsis if you're not one of the several million people who have already seen this movie. Basically, it centers around Jake. He's a paraplegic war veteran taken to another planet, Pandora, and there is quite a bit of conflict going on between those from Earth and those the natives there, the native humanoids there. Some of that conflict is stemming from a greedy corporation that wants to take over the people and their culture and basically get rid of them. So, I am joined today by David Swanson. He is from Warrenton, Virginia, and he is going to talk about some of his connections that he's made. He's a blogger and activist. David, tell us why you're connecting this, not only with some of our native or our older history, but exactly what's going on right now in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan.
Well, it's a story about American military imperialism and occupying a foreign territory in order to gain a resource, very similar to oil, but in this case called rather comically unobtainium. And there are people in the way, and those people have to be moved or they have to be killed. And there are explicit references to Iraq. They talk about shock and awe, which was the name of the invasion of Baghdad. There are many direct connections to Native Americans, as you mentioned. These are people riding horses and shooting bows and arrows and so forth. But there are also references, as this is set in the distant future, there are references to wars or at least the director fears are going to have happened by that point. Wars in Venezuela and Nigeria and elsewhere over resources, over oil. And it's stunning to watch millions of Americans go and pack theaters and cheer for a movie in which those foreigners, those resistors, those equivalents of the American Indians or the Iraqi resistance or the Afghan resistance are made into the heroes, and the U.S. mercenaries and U.S. soldiers are made into the villains. It's an incredible reversal that, if it were presented directly and not in this disguised metaphor, would not be promoted by any major American movie studio. But with this very slight disguising of what's going on, it's cheered by millions. And so I've been encouraging, and other peace activists have been encouraging people to go and take flyers and talk to people as they're coming out of the theater following this movie about what's really happening with real humans that they could sympathize with, in addition to sympathizing with these 12-foot-tall, blue, pointy-eared people on this planet.
Well, David, let me stop you right there. I mean, you say that it's mildly disguised, and I think most people would agree that there's a point, obviously, that, James Cameron is trying to make in this movie, but it's not exactly like what's going on. In fact, there's several differences, and one of which is, the Americans are not trying to take over or inhabit many of these places, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq. They're not trying to move their people here. I mean, why do you say that there's that connection?
Well, there are differences between this story and any particular story of American imperialism. For one thing, Iraqis are not 12 feet tall and blue with pointy ears. But this is a story about American military force at the bidding of a corporation interested in a natural resource that is under someone else's ground, going and trying to win the hearts and minds rather in a rather ham-handed manner, and failing and trying to use brute force to drive people out. We have killed hundreds of thousands, almost certainly over 1 million Iraqis. We have driven millions of Iraqis out of their nation, and we have done this in a place that is very rich in natural resources, which were among the motivations for going in there.
All right, David Swanson, I'm going to stop you right there. Thank you for talking to us. That was activist and blogger David Swanson, who is drawing parallels, deep parallels, between the movie Avatar and what's going on right now in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. For now, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you very much, RT's Kristen Frizzau, joining us from our Washington studio.